Are you disappointed?
Not at all. I said Daniel Rodriguez was going to beat him.
In all of the lead up to the fight, and like when you hear Kevin Lee talk, it's about, like when I was reading stuff about, like, yeah, Khabib never fought anybody. He's fought handpicked opponents. If you look at who he's beaten for the titles, like I don't understand why people need to talk about other people on their way up. And like that anyways. I mean, you're not even in the same weight class anymore. There's that. That's me obviously being a little bit of a homer. On top of it is that you haven't really fought at 170. He has, but he did one time, then he lost, and he came back down, I think, to 55 one time. It was like back and forth. Now he's at 170 for permanent. He looked okay in the first 2 rounds. But here's the thing. He's not a big 70-pounder, but he has to cut too much weight to make 55. He's got a lot of muscle on him, but he's never been known for his conditioning and his cardio. So what do? I think he's got to find a way to retrain his body. I thought I was going to see a better Kevin Lee after this amount of time off. I don't know if it was the nerves. I don't know if it was the long layoff. I don't know if it just trying to figure out what fight pace was. But after that first round, there really wasn't a whole lot left in the tank, and he was just sticking one punch, trying to get the takedown. He was fighting for those takedowns, using a ton of energy, just hanging out on the bottom too on the legs.
Yep.
And that makes you more tired carrying somebody else's weight. So there was a lot of stuff. I wanted to see something a little bit different. What I saw was the same Kevin Lee. He was the same Kevin Lee at 55, same Kevin Lee now. Not much has really changed. I was expecting a little bit different. I was expecting more. I liked it how he kept going to the head kick. He throw the combination, go to the head kick. But you've got to set it up a little bit more. You can't just keep throwing it, thinking it's going to land. You've got to set it up a little bit more. He's got some power in his kicks. We've seen it when he fought Gillespie. We've seen it. He's got power in his hands too. But as he gets tired, it becomes very just repetitive. It's the same combination over and over. And it becomes predictable. If you're an opponent, you're like, okay, I know exactly what you're going to do. So I expected to see something more, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah. First off, I think Kevin Lee's a fantastic fighter. He is.
John, I love Kevin Lee, but
he's super dynamic, very athletic. He's someone that you've got to really deal with, that strength and that speed. And he does have good wrestling. He doesn't have world-class wrestling. I know he's talking that way and stuff, but he's got good wrestling, and he is strong. So if he gets his hands together, he can lift you where other guys might not be able to elevate you. He might even have a bad position with his back, but he's strong enough he can get you up in the air and bring you down, get on top. But he's in his last 7 fights, he's 2-5.
Yeah.
And you've got to figure out where you're at and what's going to get you back to being the guy, that you were before. Because his 2 wins, I mean, I know he had the fight with Edson Barbosa, who now is a featherweight, and we'll talk about his fight, but that was a cut, and that was in the 5th round that, that fight ended based upon a cut, doctor stoppage and stuff, and then he had the one big kick that you even brought up against Gregor Gillespie. Great win against a great guy. That was Gregor's first loss, but it was a big one. But he's had a lot of, difficulties out there, and we're talking, the guillotine choke to Charles Oliveira. He had a arm triangle choke to RDA, and these are all why, because he gets tired. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe with the move from 155 to 170, like you're saying, that he wouldn't he got tired again. And I don't know if it's because of the layoff and it was just nerves and adrenaline, that kind of made it happen, but he's going to have to figure out something's got to change about what you're doing, either in the fight itself as far as the pace and when you decide to step on the gas, and you've got to regulate that. You're the only one doing, making that happen. So maybe you got to back it off and slow things down so you're fresher going into the other rounds. Or it's, your training you got to make alterations. It's not that you're not training. It's not that you're not, getting in shape, but you're not pushing yourself to that point where, how many times did you go out and do sprints where you threw up?
Yeah, I've thrown up in my mouth a couple times.
You know, but those are the things that you have to, you know, you get to that point and you've got to push and you got to make it to where you don't have that concern going into the fight that, oh, I could get tired. You know, if it's in the back of your head, it's going to end up being in front of you during the fight. It's just going to happen. So you don't want it to be something that you're concerned with. You want to just say, I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I'm just going to go out and perform. Because Kevin can perform. He can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's got all the tools. He's just got to make it happen. And against it, I thought, you know, Daniel would be a tough fight for him because Daniel's takedown defense has gotten way better. I knew he was bigger. He's a big 170er. And being a southpaw, he's got a great straight left hand down the middle. And I thought that would possibly give Kevin some problems as he was trying to make those, you know, attempts at changing levels and getting into him. But, you know, this is great fight by Daniel. 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Give it up for him, man. The guy looked great, and he fought 3 hard rounds. You know, Kevin fought 3 hard rounds. It just wasn't enough to get it done.
Well, like what you said about his the way he fights. I think what it is there's times when you need to learn to abandon something. So if I shoot a double leg and I drive you to the fence and I'm just hanging out there trying to like basically lock my hands, sometimes you just got to abandon it, come up to the double unders or the over under, whatever it is, because you hanging out down there just makes you more tired. You're not only are you fighting for the position, but you're carrying somebody else's weight. These are all things that need to be discussed amongst his corners and his coaches and stuff. Go back and watch the fight. If you make the transition from the single to the double, you run them to the fence and then you're stuck there, abandon it. Just come up to the top, go double unders or over under.
Or break off with a fucking elbow, or, you know, come out with, you know, a combination and exit out.
Yeah. I mean, those are all things that those little small details will conserve your energy like throughout the fight. And so like John was saying, like what you were saying is just keeping it. Just making sure that you're fighting smart. It's like holding on to a submission until like all of a sudden the person's out, but you're in denial that you still have the wrist, but they're out. Now they're on your back and you're getting choked. It's like you can't hold on to something so long to the point where it puts you in a shitty position. And in this case, he kept trying to shoot double legs. He kept getting in, but then he got a couple of good takedowns.
Yep.
But what happened was he kept hanging out there for some time on some of them. And next thing you know, he's getting more tired and more tired. And so those are little adjustments that he's got to start making, especially for him, because he's been known to get tired.
Yeah.
So I think that's like something he has to have a conversation with his coaches with.
100% agree.